We're going to be working on the Swan Waltz. This is from Bastien Piano for Adults, Book 2. It's on page 114. I'll play it through one time, and then we'll break it down, and I'll show you the different parts. We'll do some left hand alone, some right hand alone, and try to find some things that are familiar, and also work on maybe some of the aspects of this piece that are unfamiliar. So let me play it for you first. First, we'll look at the left hand. From the beginning of the piece, the left hand is just alternating between two different chords. If we look at the beginning, it's in D major. We're in 3/4 time. The left hand is starting in basic D position, and it's using some very familiar chords. It starts off with the D chord in measure 2, second inversion G chord, D and G, or the 1 chord and the 4 chord. And that continues through much of the first page. The only thing that changes is in measure 14, we have movement to the 5/7 chord. Now, we're used to playing the 5/7 chord in first inversion with the root, 3rd, and 7th. This is a little bit different. In measure 14, we have an A, an E, and a G. We have the root, the 5th, and the 7th, and the chord is in root position. The full chord would be here, but we just get 3 notes. In the next bar, we have an arpeggiated 1 chord again. So here's the first page, left hand alone. No pedal. 1, 2, 3. On the second page, the left hand moves way up to B minor. We have a B minor chord, B, D, F sharp. In the next few measures, we end up with various chords as a result of voice leading. The top two notes stay the same in measure 17, 18, 19, and 20. The top two notes are D and F sharp. The bottom note changes. First it's B, then A sharp, then A, then G sharp. B minor, D augmented in first inversion, or A sharp augmented, depending on how you spell it. D major in second inversion, and G sharp half diminished 7. The B is in the right hand part. So let's do those 4 measures, starting from 17. 1, 2, 3. You'll probably notice that the fingering changes in the last 2 bars. The D and F sharp at first are with 1 and 3, or 3 and 1, and then it changes to 2 and 1 because you start to get a really big stretch here, and it's more comfortable if you just use your second finger. You don't have to stretch quite so far. We have a shape that's actually familiar from earlier in the piece. E, B, and D. We're missing a third in that chord. E, it would be G, B, D to make an E minor 7 chord, and the third again it's in the right hand. That shape should look pretty familiar because we used it back in measure 14 for that outline of the A7 chord. So if we move that chord from measure 14 up, we could even just move it over on white keys as a little exercise. It's the same shape. 2 bars later, we get it again on A, and that one is exactly the same as measure 14, just an octave higher. Okay, so here's from 21. Those notes are broken, they're arpeggiated. We have arpeggiated 8th notes in 21 and 23 on the root 5th and 7th of the E minor 7 chord and the root 5th and 7th of the A7 chord. 1, 2, 3. 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to save the coda for later. I'm going to show you some right hand, and we'll put the left and right hand together, and then we'll deal with the coda. We have a pickup at the beginning of the song, so the song starts on beat 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and top note moves down. Top note moves down again, but notice the bottom A and B, they stay the same. Stepwise motion, back up to E. Now it's just like the beginning. Stepwise motion, skip down to A. Same thing, but louder. Except that here, instead of going down to A, we go back to D. Let's work on putting those together. The fastest note value in this song is the 8th note. In order to count the song correctly, I would recommend counting the 8th note all the way through. 1 and 2 and 3 and all the way. Subdivide 8th notes the entire time. That will ensure that when you move to slower note values that you don't rush. 1, 2, and tie, and 2 and 3 and 1 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 and 2 and. On the next page, we start with the right hand. We'll actually start from the pickups to the second page. So the last beat of measure 16 is a B, and it's mostly stepwise motion for a while. 1 and 2 and up a step and down a step. And here it gets a little bit different. Thumb moves to D. Repeated notes are always a great place to change fingers, especially when you need to change position. We're going to have to reach all the way up to a high B, and so thumb on D is going to be necessary. There's an F sharp in the middle. This is the next 3 notes between measures 19 and 20. Outlining a B minor triad in first inversion. This part of the piece is in B minor. That makes sense. 1 and 2 and same note lands on an E minor triad. I have to jump way down and catch the E minor triad a little bit lower. And I forgot to show you there's a couple other left-hand notes in this section. Notice the LH in the score. That means your left hand is supposed to cross over and play that D. At the end of this bar, there's a high B. Read all the way up those ledger lines, high B. Once again, you have to drop down to catch the last 3 eighth notes. And then once again, the left hand is going to be crossing over. There's a fermata, there's a ritardando. Make sure to hold that fermata full value. Here's how that all works together. I'm going to start from pickups to 21. We start going up the arpeggio. Right hand drops down. Left hand is preparing for the crossing. 1 and 2 and back to right hand. There's a rest, giving the right hand time to move. And then the left hand reaches across again. I'll show you that again. This is pickups to 21. 1 and 2 and. And 2 and. And here's everything from pickups to 17. 1 and 2 and. The coda likewise features one hand that's playing in kind of the wrong clef. we start with, and then they switch. If I start at measure 26, left hand is playing 2 Ds below middle C, and then we have the RH symbol. My right hand is going to play notes where the left hand would normally play. The right hand plays a bass clef third line D. That's this note. It doesn't matter which hand plays it. Bass clef third line D is always there. We can read stepwise from there, and then a skip. Once you get that pattern, you're going to find that the code is not as hard as it looks, because basically you just repeat the same pattern over and over on different octaves of the keyboard, and the notes are all going to feel the same no matter where you go. So the first one, 26, 3, and. Next measure just repeats again. To get to measure 28, your left hand is playing that same D the right hand used to be playing. You replace the hand. Don't make the mistake of wanting to cross over like before. We don't cross over. We replace. So here's for measure 26. When you get to measure 30, the same thing happens again. You use the left hand to replace the right hand again. Here's 26. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Replace. And then here, left hand crosses over, there's an LH sign and an 8VA, octave higher. Those notes should be here, but they're an octave higher, way up here. And then the lowest possible D on the piano. You won't be able to see that on the screen, but it's the lowest possible D.